started the broadcast, and I hope everything is live and happening on Facebook. This is awesome. This is November the 25th, I believe. Happy Thanksgiving to you Americans. We had a great Thanksgiving over here in Hawaii, and today I just got back from a great 2 mile run in the rain, so I'm just like really chipper and ready to go. So we've got some exciting stuff happening to do today, and basically what I've been doing over the last 2 years almost now is listening to this one guy. He's a neurosurgeon. You've probably heard of him, or maybe not. His name is Jack Cruz, and trying to unravel some of the basic foundations around his take on mitochondria. And as you probably know, I am that's a favorite with me. So, this is for you if you're still tired after a good night's sleep. It's really about getting the energy into the body, about solving the pain, and rejuvenating those tissues. In today's talk, I've got some really cool stuff to share with you. Now, let's see. I need to go over to this screen to get that part of it. And I do a wellness Saturday every 12 a.m. Excuse me, 12 lunchtime, California time. And basically, I've been a professional wellness coach for many decades now, since the late 80s, but specializing in sound for about 15 years, and then more recently in electrical medicines. And so I bring a lot of expertise. My background was in General Electric. I was really gifted at looking at systems as a kid, and kept on moving forward with that and bringing new technologies and understanding how things work. So today's show is to really talk about the unseen enemy. Those are the ones that are the most fearsome, because guess what? You don't know how to make defenses against them, right? So if you can't see the enemy is behind the tree, you don't know where he's coming at, which way he's going to be coming at you. And the huge issue with today's light and magnetism and all of the stuff that really our mitochondria feed off is being disrupted. And I'm going to put it really plain and simple for you, and we'll get really complex at the end. So hang in there if that's more for you. But here's an example. As you know, cell phones create brain cancer, breast cancer. Wherever you wear them, there's going to be cancers occurring underneath that. And last week, I can show you quickly right now, actually. If you look at this meter here, you can see as I bring my cell phone that the magnetism goes right up. So these are sort of unseen things that we're looking at, right? And so if you have cravings that sabotage you from making healthy decisions, guess what? It's because you're basically being cooked. And we're going to look at some of the very specific ways that this stuff works. So it's time to break that cycle, right? And so I'm going to give you some clues as to how to break the cycle. It's really debilitating. We talked about it on other wellness Saturdays. And it's also that you can achieve that peak performance. So a lot of it's sunlight driven, as we're going to see. So as I showed you before, it's not just about the daily greens. Not that I don't have my daily greens just here for the show. No, I do them every day. And in this we have avocado, we have wheat. No, don't have any wheatgrass in this one. We probably have some green potato leaves and kale and sweet potato leaf, maybe mint parsley, maybe avocado, definitely. And this year we just started getting our first avocado, so that's really cool. Got like 100 up there, so it's like wow. But these have these sort of smoothies have very important nutritional benefits too, and that's generally known. Today we're going to be talking about this light spectrum, all the way from low sound waves at the right hand of the screen, all the way up into those gamma rays, and that tiny little spectrum there of that visible spectrum that we call visible, which is what we can see in our eyes. So when it's not about pills and supplements and diets or exercise dogmas anymore, it's really about understanding the basics of how life interfaces with our universe. And the more we do of that, we've been writing stuff on grounding, we've been writing stuff on microcurrent forever, and the benefits of that. And that's what I coach my people with. So really, this is all about you and you winning, right? So it's about creating the framework so that you can understand how our environments have been infecting us, but affecting us, and we in turn have become infected and cannot see as clearly as we could. And we'll talk more about the melatonin aspects of that. And because of this, and because of this expertise that I have, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people, including gold medalist coaches. I've got some high-ranking U.S. Forces people in the training now as well. I'm going to have to be careful on how to put this all together. I don't want to expose anybody here, but there's some, day traders. We've got an interesting group of people that really are keen on, talking to me and getting the coaching from me for this wellness. And that's what my gig really is about. So, coaching you to create your life by improving your vitality, strength, and wellness. And so, that's me in one of these gnarly yoga poses I do on the beach here in Hawaii, grounding on my hands. And all of this is to get that body really active and really supple. And, I'm 66 years old. Most days I run 4 miles or so. It's just an awesome life to have now. And this week I've had a little bit of a cold. Excuse me. So I want to move on. Oh, so I have me in front of the slides there of the words. Excuse me. I didn't see that. I want to move on here to the main theme of this show. It's like we're going to move into the details, but really, the Beatles captured this, and I think this is going to become my what do I call it? My theme song for my Saturday wellnesses, because it's about the Nowhere Man. It's called the Nowhere Man. If you've listened to my shows before, you've heard them too, and it's really about at the end of the verse, it's saying making all his nowhere plans for nobody, and it's really about realizing that we have the world at our command, and it's really amazing how that works. That manifestation process works. So, to the Beatles. He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, keeping all his nowhere plans for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. Nowhere man, la la la, the world is at your command. La 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 la, he's as blind as he can be. Just sees what he wants to see. Nowhere man, can you see me at all? Nowhere man, don't worry. Take your time, don't hurry. Leave it all till somebody lends you a hand. La 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 la. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? He's a real nowhere man, sitting on his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Making all his nowhere plans for nobody. everybody. It's a choice, guys. And so me give you some science today that's going to blow you away how simple this is and what we can do about it. You know, I'm just going to go check on Facebook just quickly here and see if by chance I am live or not. And everything is going through. Yes, we are. Hey, great Glosia. Hey, Michael Dean. Thank you, guys. Stevie G. All right, you guys are watching. Perfect. So let's move on here and to the next slide, which is back to these guys, right? The unseen enemy is always the most fearsome. And Clash of the Kings. And, I really want to give credit to Dr. Jack Cruz for this material. I've been digesting the material for 18 months or so, listening to a lot of his podcasts and trying to create the links with microcurrent, which are I'll divulge more of that later. But between light and microcurrent. So let's get on with this and we saw the cell phone stuff, and this is what is this is not a healthy decision, just cooking your brain like that, let alone wearing the cell phone. So got your cell phone? Keep it around you by all means. But you know what? If you use a selfie stick, this is #1 rule for me. Bam, bam, bam. Never hold the cell phone in your hand. For this reason that I showed you earlier, the magnetic field that's close to the cell phone when I bring it in there. So you don't want that radiation going into the body. Now, let's talk about electromagnetic sensitivity. We're not talking about environmental sensitivity. That's totally different. This is a spectrum within that. And this is really all governed by this whole light spectrum, from the sound waves all the way up into those gamma rays. So up in those gamma rays, what we've got happening is we've got this whole, let's put me down here and shrink me down a little bit. One moment. Let me just do that. Come on, guys, light up. It's not letting me grab it, so I'm going to stay there as that. So electromagnetic sensitivity. So it's this whole light spectrum. And move me over a little bit. And so what we got here, it's really a manifestation process. It's really this light that's super fast up in the gamma rays, and probably beyond, for all I know, up into the gamma rays. And all of these octaves of light, or wavelengths, that are all coming down, cascading down. And it's a manifestation process. Now, in our world, our universe, the light that we see, this visible spectrum, from the 700 and whatever, 720 to the 390 there, that's the visible spectrum of light that one sees. Now, in there, that's the spectrum of light that comes into the eyes and the retina registers to the brain. There's also the infrared and the ultraviolet that are outside those, well, the red over here. How do I do that? So, it's all microphone, no matter how I do it. And but the infrared, which is over to the right, and oh gosh, I'm old. And the ultraviolet, which is over to the left, and getting this right. And so the ionizing effect of these gamma rays, X-rays, and UV are well known. The infrared is known from the heat and stuff, but in that infrared microwave, what we know about the microwave, yeah, we're going to look at that more. Radio waves and long radio waves end down into the sound waves. So back in the 80s when I started working with this, that's all I worked with, was down in the sound waves, and created environments that intensified the sound into the body, and we got amazing spectrum of results. More on that later. But in this light spectrum, the way that certain molecules in the body, and water especially, are activated by light is quite interesting, and we're going to get into that. And this is what these clues as to why that microwave frequencies in there, of which there are millions, right? Why microwave frequencies? Those are very damaging. They're like cooking the body. You know how microwave works. Well, that's what it's doing. That's why the guy's head is heating up. So let's go to that slide. To here. So the symptoms, most commonly experienced include dermatological symptoms, right? The reason for that is that when that microwave or any of these sunlight hits the body, or any of these light spectrum hits the body, it causes very low voltages on the body. 5G is going to be a problem. 4G was already a problem. 5G even more so. But here are the redness, tingling, burning sensations. And I only know about this stuff firsthand, and my body's my meter right now, because I got shingles back in February, and it really debilitated me. And I went down to 128 pounds. Long story short, still have the scars to prove it. And the long story short is that I got exceedingly sensitive to electromagnetic sensitivity, that encouraged me to look at what was happening for me, right? And why it was, and do the due diligence myself. So you got tingling, dizziness, nausea, palpitations, digestive disturbances. Now, the interesting thing about what they're describing right there is that it's all in that dysphonia spectrum of diseases, right? All of it. The reason for that is we get into, in my Ninja microcurrent training, is when we train people how to work with that. But there are some simple settings on some of the units that you can use. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, let's now go into the cell and look at how light interacts with the components within the cell. And so what we have here is an anatomy of an animal cell with its cell membrane, which is in the order of 5 to 9 nanometers thick. We've got the cytoplasm, which is the liquid. Actually, it's water. I can't point to anything here. Water inside the cell. And that water is very special water. It has actually been manufactured in those little red things called mitochondria. And they do it through the ATP cycle, which we were talking about in last week's show, so go take a look at it. The ATP cycle that occurs within mitochondria. Now, the ATP cycle that you learn in biology or in any normal medicine is vastly more complex than is taught. And they leave off big fractions in it. But the basic essentials, as you know, is that it's taking food and it's creating energy and water out of it. And the water is then excreted through that tiny thin membrane of the mitochondria into the cytoplasm of the cell. Now that's activated water, it's structured water. Specifically, the water inside the mitochondria is activated by sunlight too. And this is really exciting to understand because it has different effects, and we're going to look at some of the chemistry later on. It's deep, guys. Just get basics now. It's the sunlight interfacing with the cells and charging up the mitochondria, which increases the electrical potential in the water inside the mitochondria, so it's got more power to do its job, i.e. ATP and a lot more. And so let's go on to the next slide. So this is inside mitochondria, right? This is and I don't know if these colors are right. I just fixed them up to match with the red of the other slide. But it has those little green cells in there, components in there, are where there's activation taking place. So now let's look at some of that chemistry inside there. It's absolutely amazing. The liquid inside the mitochondrion is actually mostly protons so it's helium H plus in there. It's kind of like a supernova type of thing. The chemistry, the biochemistry, the electrochemistry, then the transmutation that nobody else talks about. You're only going to be hearing this from me. The transmutation that happens within this mitochondria is absolutely stellar and needs to be talked about in another show. But trust me, there's so much energy in there, it's like gargantuan, it's cosmic. So there's four main um, uh, components within the mitochondrion that are activated by sunlight. And one is cytochrome C. And what happens is that those specific wavelengths from the sunlight tingle these strands and cause them to go into and make more complex molecules. Now, cytochrome C has the ability to resonate with the sun through a very specific light spectrum, which is kind of cool, right? And here's, okay, maybe I got the slide mixed up. Excuse me, guys. This is also true with hemoglobin, our blood cells. If you look at this, here's the light spectrum. We've got 400 down on there, and we've got 800 up at the upper end, right? So look at the the hemoglobin, which is the bottom line, right? Look how in that not in the ultraviolet, but in that violet range into the blue, it's highest absorption of energy. And then in the blues, it drops down, and then there's a little wiggle in the greens and the yellows, and then drops down into the reds, right? So that's why hemoglobin is red, and it's a red substance because it's resonating with the sun, and it needs sunlight to do that job. Now, solar radiance outside atmosphere. The green line there is what's coming in these wavelengths from the sunlight, right? And so you got all this green light. Now it hits the atmosphere, which is the red. Now the red represents direct solar radiance at sea level. So what we get at sea level, an air mass of 1.5, blah, 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 right? Look at that spectrum now. Now in that 469 down there, that's the beginning of what we were looking at in the previous slide. Let's see if I can go to that quickly. Okay, right there, same sort of line graph. Those are the colors on it. So it is forming another curve here. Now, don't forget, this graph goes way high. It goes up to 2700, right? So this is how water resonates to sunlight. Suddenly at around, 469 there, it's at its peak, right? So 469, guess where that is? Right, we saw it just a moment ago. Whoops, wrong slide. It's right there, right along with the hemoglobin. It's almost a similar kind of curve. And looks like I forgot the cytochrome C slide. Now, the influence of daylight on the human body with cortisol levels and melatonin levels. We can dig a little deeper in that in a moment. It cycles. This is a sine wave cycle, right? 9 a.m., you've got high cortisol levels. You're awake, you're ready for the day, blah, 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 blah. 3 a.m., you've got super low cortisols, but high melatonin because you're asleep and resting and rejuvenating, right? So these go hand in hand. Now, the melatonin gets turned on in the body by the red evening light, and turned off by the reds going into the blues in the morning, right? So we've got this cycle that's totally sunlight driven. Now, once you understand that, you can understand a lot. If you're not getting the sunlight, the body doesn't have the way of balancing it out. So you're taking pills to pop them melatonin. Well, sadly, that doesn't really work forever. And it works for a little bit, but not forever. So that's what I wanted to bring to you, these basic concepts of, the importance of sunlight and how it vibrates all of these chemistry within the mitochondria in the cell to give us life. And when we take that spectrum away from ourselves, of course, it's denaturing it. If we add in microwave and harmful stuff from, this type of radiation coming in to our bodies, guess what it's doing to the body? It's doing exactly what we don't want it to do. It's interrupting, it's cooking us, just like we saw in that first slide. So, if you're one, and to me, maybe this isn't you, but excuse me if it is you, if you are dumb enough to not realize that wearing dark shades in the sunlight is affecting all of these rhythms and all of this chemistry in your body, That's the problem. That's the real nowhere man. He's really sitting in his nowhere land because he's not getting the full spectrum of that sunlight coming in. Doesn't really have a point of view. He's kind of easygoing. Politics is just too complex. He's just gonna. Life is too stressful, right? So his cortisol is high, and he doesn't knows not where he's going to. And sure enough, and be like you and me, right? So please listen to this story. This is super important. You know, this is the basis for all of these inflammatory diseases on the body and what we can do about it. So talking about sunlight on, just a quick one here, talking about, because I want to close out, talking about sunlight uh, on these aromatic amino acids. You know, remember when I was saying that sunlight affects those little wiggly fingers in that slide back there? The way that these are bound, right? The colons are bound. When that sunlight affects those, we get these different tryptophan, tryptosine, etc., being generated off that. We got where is it? We've got neuro. Sorry, I lost my chain of thought here. Yeah, there's melanin, there's serotonin. You know, all of these are created off that. I couldn't find any correlates, you know, how to demonstrate this. But if you think about it, in the sound spectrum, you know, I haven't done a lot of sound work. You can get different tissues to vibrate to different notes. Well, it makes sense. Higher up in the light spectrum, as we are beings of light in this light spectrum, we get to interface with the sun that way. And it affects these aromatic amino acids especially. So that's actually how this rippling and changing effect is changed by the different sunlight. A lot more to the sunlight than I'm just saying here, but it's pretty important. So let's finish off here. Yeah, going into the sunlight here. Let's finish off here. I'm going to do another song here. It's Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and what a wonderful world medley. And Israel Kamakahovaoli sung this one. There's no way that I'm going to have the voice of that guy, but man, what a beautiful song. So, you know, it's important that we take in these lights in the early morning and the, you know, late afternoon, because those are the ones that are triggering that melatonin and the cortisol to go off and on. So just think of it like that. There's way more to it than that. But here we go. No, I'm out of tune. Excuse me, guys. Right? Yeah. Can't do that to you. Okay, here we go. Take two. I came back from my run this morning. It was like, oh my god, it's like 5-2. Better get going, and I forgot to tune my guitar, my ukulele. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up to where the clouds are far behind me. where trouble melts like lemon drops. High above the chimney tops is where you will find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Will I see the trees of green and red roses too? I'll watch them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think of myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They're saying, really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, and I watch them grow as a grandfather, yeah, and they'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, where high above the chimney tops is where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Boy, I had a hard time not choking up on some of those words in there. Hey, God bless you all. Thank you, and comments below, etc. And if you're watching this later, comments below, like me on Facebook, like. Hey, God bless you. So really, sunlight is hugely important. The electricity is hugely important to the way it charges up the water in the cytoplasm, in the cytochrome. All of that is so important. So, hey guys, more later. God bless.